Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Lafayette at 337-420-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Clarence Buggs along with the coach at Scoreboards, 10655 Coursey Boulevard, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill. We start out this week talking Tiger football. Coach, after a week off, the Tigers will welcome Utah State to Death Valley. Now, you hear Utah State and you think automatically trap game. But when you look at the numbers that Utah State puts up, I don't think we're going to have to worry about that, will we?
Well, you never want to have kids thinking it's an easy game. You want to go out and play your game, follow the game plan, try to execute it.
Right. Now, understanding, as you mentioned, that these are young men, thinking back to your coaching days, were there any tricks that Roger Cador had, any philosophy that he adhered to be sure that the young men would not fall victim to a situation like this?
All you could do is tell them, warn them. You know, it's just, a coach is like a parent. You try to give your kids good advice, and you warn them about where the potholes are. And that's the same thing with a coach. You try to do it, and then you motivate them to do their very best.
This defensive team for the Tigers, it's a banged up bunch right now. So is the next man up approach now more important than ever?
Well, it is. Anytime someone is hurt, the next person or next player has to take his place and go out and execute. So that's the key. This is why it's called team.
We have all just been absolutely enamored, blown away, fallen in love with the new offense that the Tigers have employed now. I mean, we're scoring points like it's free lunch, like 40 going north, whatever analogy you want to use there. But there's a bit of a two-edged sword here now. We score so quickly and so often that now the defense finds itself back on the field, back on the field, back on the field. That's kind of a little bit of a two-edged sword, is it not?
But what do you want? Offense sells ticket, defense wins championships. But if you don't score, you're not going to win. So my thing is, we don't want to try and make it too much of an issue. They have to keep scoring, and then defense have to fix its problem in order to be successful.
And that was going to be the next question. At what point do you start to worry when you have that game where the offense, for whatever reason, isn't clicking the way we've become accustomed to? Is the defense going to be able to hold up the offense if need be?
Well, just wait till Florida and Auburn and Alabama. Those teams are probably teams that you won't be able to score at liberty against them. So defensively, you have to do a better job.
You got to think, with the conference grind really kicking in after the Utah State game, this game is more important than ever now that we go out, establish some real momentum and grease the skids, so to speak, as you start to get ready for the Floridas, the Alabamas, the really big games on the schedule.
I bet if there's one thing the offensive coordinator wishes, that they could have a better sustained running game, because that would help take more time off the clock. But, they're doing a good job passing. But as you get against the better teams, you need to run the ball a little more.
Yeah. On the other side of the ball, a lot more teams now are using sound strategy to get around the defensive pressure that we've become accustomed to at LSU. You use a 3-step drop. You get the ball out of the quarterback's hands a lot quicker. Does that mean now that DBU is going to have to live up to that name, Defensive Back University?
Well, that's going to happen. I noticed that the quarterbacks who are more successful are the one with the quick drop back and get rid of the ball pass quickly. Two things happen. The defensive lineman can't get to the quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
The blitz can't get to him. And then it's tougher for the defensive backs to cover those speedy wide receivers.
Yeah, well, DBU, we're going to find out what you're made of starting this week with that up-tempo offense and, of course, the SEC grind that's still to come. When we come back, we'll shift gears from purple and gold to blue and gold when the Roger Cador Show continues. Stay close.
Oh.
Break out of the chaos.
Smart Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge because BTR is so close and convenient, they're always one step ahead, rather than dead on their feet. So, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Welcome back for segment 2 of this week's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Coach, let's talk a little Jaguar football. Jags got out of the gate early against UAPB. How big is that when you're on the road in conference?
Well, it's always big to score early. First, it gives your offense some confidence, and it helps the defense. Mm-hmm. Plus, it takes away some of the home field advantage when you score early.
Speaking of home field advantage, we've got highlights from that encounter, so we will let the guys in the truck roll it as we continue our conversation talking about Jaguar football. Ladarius Skelton, originally from Arkansas, quarterback now for the Jaguars, a bit of a homecoming. That always provides some little added incentive, doesn't it?
It really does. And the thing that I'm looking at is that they're not trying to have him throw long passes. See, quick passes, something that he can handle. And again, all of those things helps the offensive line. Now it helps the run, as you could see here. So it's really a good thing that the offensive coordinator is giving him a good game plan that he could enjoy some success with.
And of course, the coaches made no bones about the fact that they made some adjustments to play to Ladarius's strengths. That's what good coaching is all about, isn't it? All
about. If you're going to play it, might as well play it to what he does better, or then you're wasting his time and the team's time.
The Jaguars in this particular game, maybe more so than any other game this season, well, maybe with the exception of Edward Waters, looked like the team that finished so strong last season. Is this a case of the old adage that adversity breeds character? Is that coming true for this team, all the adversity they've been through this year?
Well, it's early. Let's see. You know, we knew one thing, that they were getting into conference play, and because of the new alignment this year, they had to win coming out of the box.
Right.
And because the next game is Prairie View, who is going to be a very tough opponent.
The defense held Pine Bluff to 30 points below their season average and a measly 61 yards of rushing on the ground. That's a heck of a defensive effort, Coach.
It really is, and you've got to give the coaching staff some credit. They prepared the kids for the first conference game. They're going on the road and telling them, come on, now you have to step up and prove what you're made out of.
You know, when you have the S on your chest, it also puts a bullseye on your back. When you look at the fact of what Southern was able to do against UAPB, albeit just one game into the conference slate, it's got to do wonders for the confidence of the team.
Yeah, we would hope so. And then you get a week off. You can get some people well, and then you can work on things you hadn't been doing good.
Right.
You can show those things up. So those are the kind of stuff that the coaches are hoping they can take advantage of during the week off.
As we continue watching the highlights, it's of note that the Jaguars got contributions in all three phases of the game: offense, defense, and special teams. Can you stress enough how important it is that you get that sort of effort every time you step on the field?
You would like to have it happen every time, but it probably won't, and that's all right as long as you don't make a bunch of mistakes.
Right.
Those are the things that kill you, is mistakes.
It was also of note that the Jaguars were able to force 4 turnovers against the Golden Lions of UAPB. And for a good part of the season, that's been the exact opposite. So that also has to breed confidence in this team.
Yeah, anytime you can get turnovers, and here we are, we see kicking a field goal. Turnovers are so good, because I saw the first interception, and he did it in really good field position, which helps the offense.
You mentioned a week off before taking on Prairie View. Eric Dooley doing a bang-up job at Prairie View now, beating Grambling State last weekend, as a matter of fact. So I guess it's official now that Prairie View is no longer everybody's whipping boy?
Yeah, and Eric Dooley is coming back home. He was an assistant at Southern for many, many years.
Yeah.
So we've got to be careful, Eric. You're coming home. We may not treat you as nice as we always do.
We love you, but home cooking, home hospitality, throw that out of the window when you come to Mumford. When we come back, we go from blue and gold to black and gold on the Roger Cador Show. Stay close.
Kate is cooking.
I love it.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Break out of the chaos.
Getting a letter from the IRS that you owe back taxes can be scary, but it doesn't have to be. Call Go Tax Resolution in Mandeville at 985-722-1040 today. We'll help stop garnishments, levies, and seizures immediately. With over 35 years of dealing directly with the IRS, our team of local professionals will help you pay the least amount possible. So if you owe back taxes to the IRS, you need help. Call the tax professionals at Go Tax Resolution in Mandeville at 985-722-1040. Your go-to tax relief.
Welcome back for segment 3 of this week's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Again, we come to you from Scoreboards, located at 10655 Coursey Boulevard, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill. Coach, for the second week in a row, the Saints used a complete game effort to win without Drew Brees.
It's always good. It's called good teamwork here. Again, they were playing the Dallas Cowboys, who are extremely tough.
Oh, yeah.
And the defense stepped up big time, holding them to just 1 touchdown.
Yeah.
and the field goal. So you got to give them credit.
Let's roll the highlights from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome and that highly anticipated showdown. At some point, Coach, the offense is going to have to stretch the field with a deep threat. Can we continue to win without developing that?
Well, you got to understand, against those two teams, they're very tough defensively. So the coach still want to put Teddy Bridgewater in a situation where he could be successful. Now, once he builds the confidence, I'm sure they're going to extend the field a little.
Conventional wisdom says the last 2 wins were, quote, just 2 games. But to the average casual fan, those 2 wins were huge, and I got to think the team would think that as well, Coach.
Oh, yeah, because probably people had counted 2 losses, and so they won. But they can't take anything for granted because you're still in the NFL, and
on any given Sunday,
you can get beat. So, you can't live on your laurel. You got to get ready for whoever they play next, and try to beat them.
I want to be careful how I pose this next question. Because I'm well in tune to the sensitivities of the black and gold nation, the Who Dat nation. But is it possible in some form that the injury to Drew Brees could end up possibly being a blessing in disguise, in that it has forced everyone to step up their game?
I would agree. Not only that, if they can continue to play well and win, when you get Drew Brees back, you'll have a fresher, older player. 18 games or 16 games with an older 40-some-year-old player takes his toll.
Good point.
So now he won't have all of those extra throws out of his arm, his muscles, and everything. He could be a really good guy for him in the playoff.
See, that's why you're the coach. That thought had never occurred to me, and that's true. When you're talking about a 16-game grind like that, he'll actually only be 12 games, which is going to be a 4th fresher Drew Brees when he returns to the lineup. Is the win over Seattle and the following win over Dallas, is this testament more so than anything to the fact that the Saints now have a bona fide system in place and not just a philosophy?
Well, I think it's
too early to tell here.
It's early, but I think with Peyton coming out of Parcell tree, out of that coaching staff,
right?
They learned that you have to have a system that will allow you to be successful, because they know they're going to lose people during the course of the year. That's why the system prevails.
Right. How would you rate Teddy Bridgewater's play so far, with the exception of that last sack, Coach?
But he didn't turn the ball over.
True.
That was really major. But I think he's done a really good job. Some people don't agree with me, but you're 2-0. How can you complain? The name of the game is to win.
Yeah.
You see, and what people got to understand, don't expect 400-500 yard passing. Just win, baby.
Right.
Just win.
Right. So when all is said and done, has this been an exercise in the Saints now Saints fans having to come to grips with just how great Drew Brees actually is?
Well, they should know. The numbers speak for itself.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they don't have to really come to grips with that, I think. But fans are emotional. They want to win at all costs. So it all works out. Drew Brees is there giving advice, helping them, and they're going to be all right.
Drew Brees is what Drew Brees is. But my gut tells me if Teddy Bridgewater continues to play, managing the game, not losing games for us, there's the possibility that we could have a guy that would be in the running for the MVP and only played 4 to 5 games.
Who, Teddy?
Teddy.
Well, I don't think that'll happen. Now,
if you keep us in the running and win, we've already won 2 that many people had written off.
Right.
If you just keep us in sight of our goals and able to make a run for a championship, I mean, this guy he's pretty important right now.
Yeah, well, the way things work in the league is that you have to do it over the season. 4 or 5 games is not enough.
Yeah, well, if he wins every game that Drew's out, He gets consideration for me. Just saying. Not that I get a vote or anything like that. Just saying. When we come back, we're going to spice things up a bit on segment 4 of the Roger Cador Show.
Oh,
Stay
Alan,
close.
please don't let him do it, Al.
Break out of the chaos.
Hey, Coach Roger Cador here. There's something about teamwork that brings the best out in any business. When I need a tow, I call Roadrunner Towing. Roadrunner's 4 generations strong and homegrown right here in Baton Rouge.
Thanks, Coach. There's no job too large or too small. Call Roadrunner for quick, reliable, exceptional service. We don't want an arm and a leg. We just want your toes. And remember, take time each day to be a blessing to someone. Thank you.
Some Baton Rouge business travelers travel out of Baton Rouge. Some don't. The ones that do know BTR is all about being closer, more convenient, with non-stops and short hops to anywhere their business takes them. They also know not flying BTR means more traffic, longer lines, and wasted time. So if it's about going from driveway to runway with a lot less highway, isn't it about time you flew BTR? Baton Rouge Metro Airport. It's about time.
Welcome back for the final segment of this week's edition of the Roger Cador Show. Again, we record out Tuesdays here at Scoreboards at 10655 Coursey Boulevard, Baton Rouge's newest sports grill. If you haven't been out yet, you're truly missing a treat. Great food, great people, good times at 10655 Coursey Boulevard. Coach, don't ever want it to be said that we stay away from the controversial topics because there's a whole lot of them out there these days. It seems like sometimes the NFL cannot get out of its own way. They're their own worst enemy. Recently, Saints linebacker Demario Davis was fined thousands of dollars for a headband that read "Man of God." Now, we both understand the rules are the rules. And when it comes to the NFL, there are strict rules about what you are allowed to wear on your uniform because it is an official NFL uniform. But some folks are saying, wait a minute. Here's a guy that's only doing something that millions of your fans agree with, your profession of faith. And you have an owner, the likes of Robert Kraft, who is embroiled in a controversy involving prostitution, although it is still ongoing, but nothing fine-wise has been handed down to him. Does the NFL send a bad message to a huge portion of its fan base when you find the likes of Demarius, but nothing has happened yet to a Robert Kraft?
Well, Demarius got to understand, first of all, you can't, the rules are the rules. Don't follow that. I mean, don't deface the NFL by putting objects on them that they ask you not to.
Right, ask Jim McMahon.
Right. In the case of Robert Kraft, he was getting a massage, allegedly.
Wink, wink.
Allegedly,
Right.
he was getting a massage. But there are different rules for players and owners. The owners, Commissioner Goodell is paid by the owners, so
Right.
there it is.
Yeah, and that is what is getting under the skin of a lot of people, is that this seems like a classic example yet again of one set of rules for the folks up here and another set of rules for the folks down here. But is that just the nature of the beast?
It is the nature of the beast, so that's the way it is. I mean, we all have to do what the rules say we should do.
Right.
And sometimes everybody don't do it the same way in terms of putting out the fines and penalties.
On another controversial topic, controversial sports commentator Jamil Hill recently wrote an article saying that elite black athletes should stop going to mostly white colleges because the NC2A, quote, uses the labor of black folks to make white folks rich. What do you make of those comments, Coach?
Well, Jamil is way off base with that. I fought to end segregation.
Right.
I grew up in a segregated situation, and I fought for that. So why would you fight? And many people lost their lives.
That's right.
For trying to get equal right and equal opportunity. I mean, you can't. This thing with sports and all of that. She's looking at too much of a small segment.
Right.
When you're just looking at sports. It's all about the bigger picture.
Yep. And at the end of the day, when it really comes down to it, you can't have your cake and eat it too. If you fight for the right to be considered equal, then there's certain things that come along with that, correct?
Oh, yeah. And that's what, like I said, back in the 60s, I had threatening calls and threatening all kinds of things. So I don't want to hear that kind of stuff.
In a somewhat related note, only 6,800 fans turned out in Pine Bluff to watch their Golden Lions take on our Jaguars. The week before, 14,000 only in Mumford Stadium for the second annual Pete Richardson Classic. And last week, Alcorn versus Valley, an in-state rivalry in the state of Mississippi, less than 8,000 people in the stands for that. What can the SWAC and other HBCUs do, and what must we do to put more, quote, butts in the seats?
Oh, that's tough. Well, if you got to get the players. It's about the product. If you can get the product, when I think the people will come in the stand. Because, right. But if you can't get the product, no one is coming. Those dollars are tough to get right now.
Yeah.
A lot of people, and all of the schools you mentioned are in SEC country. Yeah. Which those people now would rather go see an SEC game.
Yeah, you mentioned the fact that you've got to put the product out there, but you are also one of those, and to your credit, you have preached this for years. Southern University belongs to the community. The same can be said for Grambling, for Valley, for Texas Southern, for Alabama State, for Alabama A&M, for Jackson State, down the line, down the line, down the line. The community itself also has a huge role to play in uplifting this as well, do they not?
Especially if you're in the business, you want to make sure that you give back to keep it alive, because it's the lifeline. Mm-hmm. It's the lifeline. And look how many people's lives are touched and changed and prosper from historical black schools.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way to keep them going, because they play a great role in society.
Have we as a conference and as the individual schools that make up the conference, have we done a good enough job in connecting with the communities that we are supposed to serve?
Well, I'm thinking they're trying, but you've got to do a little more. Mm-hmm. You've got to make it work. Until we get more people, then we're going to say we're not doing enough.
Right.
Obviously, because we don't have enough fans there. So it's an ongoing thing. We just got to try and do our very best and make it happen.
What do you say to the person that grew up like yours truly, idolizing the likes of Southern University, Grambling State University, Jackson State? What do you say to that person who grew up in that sort of atmosphere but has not been to a game in they can't remember how long? What do you say to them, Coach?
Go to the game, Clarence. That's the best I can say.
Yeah, that's pretty short, sweet, and to the point. Go to the game. Because when all is said and done, you cannot put a dollar figure, nor can you probably put numbers, numerically speaking, on the number of lives that these institutions have touched, the number of kids that have gotten college degrees that otherwise would not have had access to higher education. Not to mention the number of families that have been raised, the number of our neighbors and friends who have been able to earn an honest day's living for an honest day's pay. They're our schools. We need to support them. On behalf of the crew and the coach, I'm Clarence Buggs. See you next week with another edition of the Roger Cador Show.